Good morning, seventh graders. Hello from home at quarantine. We are going to learn today how to solve two-step equations and write them. Probably not going to ask you questions today on how to write them, but we're definitely going to learn how to solve two-step equations. Also, literally we're doing this with my 8th graders and my 7th grade honors classes. So make sure you understand this because it's going to come back next year. Okay. So you're going to have to learn how to do this. So make sure you got scratch paper and that you are practicing, or you're attempting to try them on your own when we're doing these lessons. Because if you attempt while we're doing the lessons and you get them wrong, then I can work with that. Then we can see where are you going wrong? What are you doing wrong? It's when you get to your quizzes assignment and then you totally bomb it that we would have a problem, okay? So we'll do a few examples. I'm gonna try to talk you through every single one. Don't freak out, it's not that hard. All right, so here is our first example. Sorry, I'm trying to do a makeshift lesson from my house on my couch. All right, so the first one is 4h plus 6 equals 30. So when we're looking at this, we need to look at this and we need to look at this part right here because we know this is plus 6 and we know this is 30 and this is an equal sign. But what is this 4 doing to this h or this coefficient as we learned last week? 4 is the coefficient to h. There's only 4 operations in math that it could be doing. It could either be adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing. We know it's not adding. We know it's not subtracting. So now it's either multiplying or dividing. We got to figure that out. 4h. Okay, so right here, like we know another way for a division sign to show division would be like this. That would be division, 4 divided by h, okay? So the only operation left is multiplication. So there's basically an invisible multiplication sign between this 4 and this h, okay? So it's basically 4 times h. I don't even know if you can even see my multiplication sign I put there. Okay, so 4 times h plus 6 equals 30. All right, so our goal is to isolate h. We want to get this by itself. But first, I'm going to get rid of the things that I can get rid of. And I can get rid of this plus 6. So I want this to equal 0. And the only way to get plus 6 to equal 0 is 2 minus 6, okay? So minus 6, okay? That undoes it. The subtraction is the opposite of the addition. We want to do the opposite to get rid of it, okay? So the opposite of addition is subtraction. Had this be 4h minus 6, we would be adding 6 to this because the goal is to get 6, get rid of it to make it 0, okay? So that cancels out. So, but just like last week, if I do something to the left side of my equal sign, I got to go over here and do something to the right, okay? And 30, took away 6 here. I got to take away 6 here. 30 minus 6 is 24. So now we have 4h equals 24. All right, now, just like up here, when I subtracted 6, when I undid the plus sign, I've got to undo the multiplication sign. Well, what's the opposite of multiplying? Dividing, okay? So I'm going to divide by 4, and that cancels out. So if I divide this side by 4, I've got to divide this side by 4. So h equals 6. But we're going to check it. We're going to check. Okay, so we're going to do 4 times 6 plus 6 equals 30. Okay. So 4 times 6 is 24, and 24 plus 6 is 30. So 30 equals 30. So my answer checks out. I did it correct, okay? So just remember, a real easy thing to do is to plug in what you get back into the equation and check it. It didn't take me very long, okay? All right, so we got a couple more examples. Make sure you're trying these on your own, okay? All right, so I'm going to go a little quicker because I actually want to do a few more problems with you guys, and I want to make sure that I can get like every type of equation that I think you may solve. All right, so we have 5k minus 7 equals negative 7. All right, so remember again, our goal is to figure out what does k equal. we want to know what times 5 minus 7 will give me negative 7, okay? So we've got a minus 7. So I want to undo the minus 7 or the negative 7, however you want to look at it. Because we all know the rule for adding integers. See, this comes back. The rule for adding integers is change your subtraction sign to addition, change the sign of the next number. So technically, we could do plus negative 7, but you don't have to. You can just look at it as minus 7. So the opposite of minus 7 is plus 7, correct? So that's going to give me a 0 on this side, which is what I want. And if I add 7 to the left side, I've got to add 7 to the right side, right? So negative 7 plus 7, that's 0. Okay, so now we have 5k equals 0. I want to get rid of this 5, so I'm going to divide by 5, okay? So if I divide by 5 here, divide by 5 here, and we know anything 0 divided by anything is 0. So k equals 0. So let's put this in and let's check. Okay, so 5 times 0 is 0. And 0 minus 7 is negative 7. So that checks out. That is correct. Okay, so we're going to do a couple more. We're going to do one, maybe with some decimals. Okay. Okay, so this is also a little bit different because our variable's on the right side of the equal sign, and that's okay. We're going to solve it the same way. So I want you to write this down. I want you to pause my video, try to solve this on your own first, okay? All right, so here we go. Our goal is to get m by itself, correct? We want to figure out what does m equal. All right, but first I've got to get rid of everything else that's not touching the m. Well, 0.2 or 2/10 is touching the m. So I'm going to come over here, and just like a while ago, minus 7, I got to get rid of it. So I'm going to do plus 7, and that makes that 0. Well, if I add 7 on the right side of the equal sign, I've got to come over here and add 7 to the left side. And 3 plus 7 is 10. So now I have 10 equals 0.2 times m. That's a decimal. All right, so we know to get rid of the 0.2 is to divide by 0.2, right? 0.2. And that gives me just m. All right, so I'm going to come over here, and I've got to come over here and do 0.2. All right, now I'm going to T-bow. Top number goes in the division box, the bottom number goes out. So it's 10 divided by 0.2, and I've got a decimal. Well, I can't divide by decimal, so I'm going to move it over. And I'm going to add a decimal here, and I got to move it over in there, because what you do on the outside of the division box, you got to do on the inside of the division box. So I know 2 will go into 10 5 times, and that makes it 0, and then 0. So 50 equals m, okay? Let's check it just to make sure. So we have 3 equals 0.2 m minus 7. Oh, I should, okay, it's fine. 3 equals 0.2 times 50 minus 7. Okay. So I'm going to do 50 times 0.2. So that makes it 10. So 3 equals 10 minus 7. And we know 10 minus 7 is 3. So that checks. We did that one correct. All right. Got another one coming up. All right, guys. So you know I had to save the best for last. We're doing a fraction one. So write this down and just try it. Just try it. Okay. So I'm going to give you time to pause and try. All right. So when you get in 8th grade, this will be easier because you'll have a calculator. And if you're able to use a calculator right now, if that's one of your classroom accommodations, this is going to be easy for you, okay? All right, so our goal is to get b by itself. We want to see, what does b equal? What times negative 1/5 minus 2/5 will give me negative 2? That's what we're looking at, okay? So sometimes if you break it down and say, okay, what am I going for? What am I looking for? It makes it a little bit easier to solve. All right, so I want to get rid of the negative 2/5, minus 2/5. So I have to add 2/5, right? Okay, so I'm going to add 2/5 here. So if I add 2/5 here, I've got to come over here and add 2/5 here. So now we have negative 1/5 b times b equals negative, oh, we have negative 2 plus 2/5. So this is going to be a little bit different, okay? So let me come over here to the side, and I'll erase this in a minute. So we have negative 2. So basically, we're going to subtract 2/5 from the negative 2. So negative 2 plus 2/5. All right, now, so I want to rewrite this. So I want to make it, so let's see, we'll do 2 minus 2/5. Let's turn this 2/5 to a decimal. I feel like that would be easier. Okay, so let's TiVo it. 2 goes in the TiVo, top and bottom out. 2 goes in the division box. 5 goes out. And I'm going to add my decimal here and bring it up already. Okay, so 5 will go into 2 4 times. 4 times 5 is 20. Okay, so it's 0.4. All right, that's our equivalent decimal to that. 0.4. So negative 2 plus 0.4, which really we're subtracting because the rules of the integer, take the sign of the larger number and subtract. Well, 2 is larger than 0.4. Okay, so basically we are subtracting, and our answer is going to be negative. Okay, so I'm going to borrow 1. So 10 minus 4 is 6.6. So we have 1.6, negative 1.6. So negative 1.6 or 1 6/10. We could do 6/10 because that will help us, because that's really, because this is a, well, yeah, let's do 1. Let's leave it like this for just a second, and let's see how this works out, okay? All right, so I want to get rid of negative 1/5. I don't want to keep the negative sign, so I want to get rid of it. So this is multiplying. This is, even though this is a fraction, it's still multiplying the b. So negative 1/5 times b. So I'm going to divide by negative 1/5 because we know a negative divided by negative is a positive, okay? We remember that, or we should. Okay, so that cancels out. So I'm going to come over here and do negative 1/5. If we wanted to make 1/5 into a decimal, that would probably help too. So we can TiVo that real quick, which is 0.2. So divided by negative 0.2. Okay, so because negative 1/5, same as negative 0.2. All right, so now we're going to TiVo this. Negative, and we know a negative divided by negative is going to be positive. So our answer is going to be a positive number. Okay. So 1.6 divided by 0.2, and we're moving our decimal. And 2 goes into 16 8 times. So b equals positive 8. We did a lot of converting decimals and fractions and all that. We need to definitely check this one. Let's see if we got this right. Okay, so negative 1/5 times positive 8 minus 2/5 equals negative 2. All right, so let's see. 1/5 we said was 0.2. So let's do negative 0.2 times 8. And 2/5 was 0.4, right? Minus 0.4 equals negative 2. Erase this, I'm running into my work. All right, so 2 times 8 times 2, 0.2 would be 16, but I got to move my decimal over 1. So 1.6, negative 1.6 minus 0.4 equals negative 2. All right, now, okay, so rules for subtracting integers. When you're subtracting integers, you're going to change your, this is negative 1.6 minus 0.4. So we're going to change our subtraction sign to addition, change the sign of the next number. So now we have negative 1.6 plus negative 0.4. Well, now we have an addition problem. So the rules for addition is keep the sign and add. So we're going to keep the sign. So we have negative 1.6 plus negative 0.4, which makes it 0. So which makes it negative 2. Okay? What? this worked out. -2 is equal to -2. That worked out. That was crazy. That was hard. So I hope you guys understood that. Me personally, it is much easier for me to convert fractions to decimals and then work with them that way. So hopefully you guys understood that. If not, just raise your hand and I can help.